We Business presents VT Walk Executive Turf. Media partner CNBC TV 18.
The next chapter of business isn't being written in isolation. It's being shaped through collaboration, competition, and being ready for what's next. Welcome to We Business Presents VT Walk in partnership with CNBC TV 18. This year, we bring together the creators of tomorrow. Leaders from across industries stepping onto the course with a common goal to challenge themselves, exchange ideas, and build for the future. We are here at the Classic Golf and Country Club in Delhi as this journey tees off. From here, we move to the fairways of Bangalore at the Prestige Golf Shire Club. And then in the next episode, we head for Mumbai to the Bombay Presidency Golf Club for the final leg of this journey. With the players in position and the course set, VT Walk is officially back, bigger, better and bolder than ever. Well, before all the action begins, let's find out what this milestone edition has in store from us from Rorik Kaushal, who is the Executive Vice President, Enterprise Mobility Business, Marketing and Capability at We Business. Hi Rorik, thanks for joining us and speaking with us.
Thank you, Swati, for having me.
What is it that the viewers can expect from this year's edition?
VT Walk, in its 15th year, celebrates this partnership with industry leaders across three cities of Bangalore, Delhi and Bombay. Our format is the Texas Scramble. This is a 4-person format. The idea is to collaborate, come together, have the right strategy to win the game.
You know, executive turf has been a very, very important component of the VT Walk. Now, what kind of conversations are in pipeline for our viewers this season?
Executive Turf is our 2-episode series which brings together perspectives from CXOs on what is changing and shaping the business for future. This year, our 2 topics are about cybersecurity and privacy and artificial intelligence. Very core and very integral to what is important to not just we, but also to the industry. In this episode on AI, the conversation is moving beyond the initial excitement and the hype. Business leaders are asking the real questions on how we will scale AI, what is going to be the ROI, and now how do we shape core strategy embedded with the AI enablers. Just like the game of golf, it's not just about the perfect swing. It's about building the strategy together so that ultimately we win the game.
Well, thank you so much, Rorik, for joining us and speaking with us and giving us a sense of exactly what this year's edition has for our viewers. Thanks.
Thank you.
Before we dive further into the game, let's head to the executive turf where the industry leaders are all set to discuss more on AI-powered enterprises while staying security first and data-led.
Hello and welcome to VT Walk Executive Turf. I'm Mridu Bhandari. As VT Walk marks its 15th year, the platform continues to bring together leaders shaping the future of India Inc. through conversations that explore how technology, leadership, and strategy intersect in a rapidly evolving digital world. Our discussion today focuses on the big AI bet. Across industries, artificial intelligence is no longer just an experiment. It's fast becoming a decisive lever for growth, efficiency, and competitive advantage. To explore how enterprises are navigating this shift, we are joined today by an esteemed panel of leaders. Let me welcome Arvind Nevatia, Chief Enterprise Business Officer at Vodafone Idea, Rajat Gupta, Senior Partner at McKinsey & Company, and Dr. Ganesh Ramakrishnan, Co-Founder of Bharat Gen AI. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, artificial intelligence, I'm sure all of you hear that all the time these days, every day. So, Rajat, if I can begin with you, how are CXOs viewing enterprise AI today? And has the conversation firmly shifted now from experiments to harnessing AI for very specific business outcomes?
So it is shifting, let's say, and it's shifting reasonably rapidly. I'll quote from a survey that we do every 6 months of executives on the state of AI. About 2/3 of organizations are still piloting AI. So a third have actually moved beyond pilots. About two-thirds are actually experimenting with agentic AI. Somewhere between 1 and 10% have actually scaled agentic AI in some function or the other within their own system. 1% in manufacturing, 10% in tech, for example, right? So there is a range between sectors. About 40% of the ones that are implementing in a substantive way are actually seeing EBITDA level or bottom line impact.
Wow, so that's quite promising. Well, Arvind, bringing you in as well. At We, what are the AI-powered interventions that you've had in terms of getting business outcomes, and where are you seeing the biggest ROI from AI within your business?
Any telecom network is processing vast amount of data. And if you look at the proliferation of technologies, multiple layers, 5G now coming in, different use cases evolving, the biggest impact that AI is making, has started to make, I would say, and can potentially make, is network management moving from a reactive network management to already network predictive management to the holy grail, which is self-healing networks. As an example, just by implementing AI-powered solutions in our SON network, self-optimizing network, over the last couple of years, we've been able to reduce energy consumption across our network by almost 10%. Now, that 10% at our scale means almost 5 lakh metric tons of carbon reduction, equivalent to 13 million trees being planted. So there's a combination of big impact on the network and technology and on customer service and marketing demand gen that we are seeing at what we call AI at We. There are many different places where somewhere between piloting and massive deployment, we are on that spectrum.
Right, absolutely. Well, Ganesh, coming to you now. For years, AI was being talked about in pilots, in small experiments, in proof of concepts. Has something shifted in the last 12 to 18 months? We hear a lot more about AI scaling. And what do you think has really pushed AI into the core of business strategy now for enterprises?
I think what has really changed is the mindset of adoption. We had a very interesting conversation with the Honorable PM on 8th of Jan at his residence and lasted several hours. One of the key points he mentioned is the Indian mindset of not being scared of AI but embracing it. How do we turn that into an advantage? AI use case capital tag, can it be used to make India an IP capital as well? Right? That is where we need to be creative. But I think the adoption mindset has changed. Now, how do you make it to our advantage, bring the IP generation? It's only possible through the mindset of sovereignty. Sovereignty basically means there's participation, there is transparency. You lay alternatives. I was so happy to hear about the fact that agentic technologies have been helpful. But agents actually have multiple strata. How do you make sure that you have the right choice at every level? I think that's where the IP generation possibilities exist through a sovereignty approach.
Arvind, now as enterprises are looking to scale, obviously very secure connectivity, secure data movement is very, very critical. So at We, how are you enabling enterprises when it comes to AI transformation and, helping them scale business operations as well?
See, for us, I think the lever that we look at is we have our bouquet of products and solutions, and each of the teams are looking at how AI can play a role in improving the offering. I'll give you a specific example. We have the, of course, our mission of Digital India, and with that, the smart electricity grid. Now, smart grid is now a reality. We have to power up 250 million homes. And that means a complex network of device ecosystem talking to multiple head-end systems with multiple applications and power discoms. This kind of a plethora of data is being processed. So as an example, we have at We have built a AI-powered prognostics tool, which means that it is not waiting for something to go wrong. It is actively looking at what can go wrong. And which is what I mentioned, that the whole power is moving from reactive to predictive. So this prognostics tool is one example of how our customers can save hours of in-field visits when something goes wrong, right? You look at the technology and you bring it back to the customer experience. I think that's where the holy grail is.
Absolutely. Well, Ganesh, what does it really take for an enterprise to embed AI across its functions and across its, scale?
I think you need a very healthy combination of research and engineering. Research is what lets you explore, but engineering is what lets you exploit. Right? The two need to work together through partnerships, through co-design principles, which we see many of the other countries benefiting from. If you want very large-scale adoption, it's also important that the TCO, the total cost of ownership, right, is brought to a bare minimum, which is what enterprises are very concerned about. It includes the hosting, licensing, whole bunch of costs, but one of the very important ones is the infra cost. Now, can we convert, with the sovereign models initiative, can we convert the large-scale training? I mean, we released a bunch of models. We have a runway of up to 1 trillion parameter models at BharatGen. Can we convert the workload into best design, right? Design for large-scale inference, because inference is going to be the key to make sure AI gets adopted. And that's only possible when there are partnerships. Co-design is very key here.
In sectors like manufacturing, where you have steel, you have automotive, you have other manufacturing companies, how are companies really implementing AI on the ground, and where are they seeing the most meaningful impact, and what are some of the big challenges that they are navigating?
Let me say that, I've looked at this AI journey for now 20 years, almost 2 decades. The first 10 years, as I saw it, it was a lot of hype, particularly in the manufacturing sectors. There was some use in consumer-facing sectors, but a lot of it I felt was hype. But 10 years ago, I actually started to see impact. My first use case was a case where a product was operating at an 80% yield. AI was used to connect up data and digest data. And within a week after the models were implemented, the yield went up to 99.5%. And this is a steel plant in Europe. So that kind of magic led me to believe that there was something here, first in the world, that we could do with clients. So what I have seen is, I've worked with many of these kinds of large companies. In fact, there are 19 odd World Economic Forum lighthouses, digital lighthouses in India. McKinsey has worked with about 11 of them. And what we have found is huge amounts of potential, particularly in upstream industries, which have a lot of natural raw materials, pulp, for example, or paper, or wood, or iron ore, with throughput improvement, for example. Anywhere between 5 and 15% throughput improvement on very heavy assets that they deploy. So there's that, there's energy reduction, there's yield improvement that I talked about, or quality improvement. So I think these are certainly areas within manufacturing where I'm seeing large-scale adoption, but it's still, I would say, at the level of 25 to 30% of the companies are adopting it at a large scale. 60, 70% are still in what I would call the pilot purgatory.
Nice. Well, Arvind, to add to what Rajat is saying, what are some of the use cases that you are most excited about, where you see AI adding measurable value to enterprises?
The here and now use cases that are exciting people and they're able to see measurable outcome are more in operational AI, customer service efficiency, and those kind of areas. Many of our companies are rich on data but poor on insights. So how do you really use, whether it's pricing optimization, AI for pricing optimization, whether it is for next best action and churn management, whether it is for enterprise decision intelligence. I think that really will be a bit more longer term in terms of impact.
Right. Well, so a lot of enterprises out there, Rajat, all experimenting with AI, some scaling. What really separates the high performers who are actually able to deliver AI-driven outcomes from those who are sort of laggards, so to say?
I would say aspiration of the top management makes a difference. Are they innovators or are they just followers? That's one. The second is, as I earlier mentioned, it's really having a business problem to solve, whether it's to get more customers or to get more revenues or to reduce cost or to get more efficiency out of a certain process. I think that's important. And as I earlier mentioned, it's the yin and yang of technology with capability, which needs to be delivered in a fairly structured program, right? Because what I talked about earlier is pilot purgatory, is when you have a number of different pilots going on and those don't scale necessarily, those may deliver impact in individual areas, but how do you create one single language across the organization in a structured manner? More and more people learn and believe in these sets of tools that come out of this and are able to also maintain these tools, because it's not a one-time investment. If you build a model, you have to maintain it. You have to retune the model for changing circumstances. So I think it's a combination of this. It's in my view, a finely orchestrated process which moves an organization from trying pilots to scale.
Wonderful. Well, Ganesh, your organization has been working on advancing AI capabilities for the Indian ecosystem. So, around the world, we've been talking a lot about sovereign AI. How important is it for enterprises to rely on India-trained models and local data sets? Should this be a top priority for enterprises?
I'll piggyback on what Rajat talked about, skilling. Right? Sovereignty is primarily about viewing the AI stack as a glass box as against a black box. Not only does that lay alternatives on the table to choose from, finding the most appropriate one, it also leads to the second attribute of sovereignty, which is participation, meaningful participation. BharatJan AI itself is set up as a consortium of 9 academic institutions led by IIT Bombay, but as a Section 8 company, which means we have our CEO, we have 60 full-time engineers working with researchers across these 9 institutions, which means meaningful participation, which leads to creative innovation at scale. I mean, a classic example of this is our text-to-speech model for 12 Indian languages, which is world-class, largely because we brought a lot of creativity in terms of the phonetic symbols that go into the text-to-speech models. Now, a very interesting part here is also the partnerships that have come out. For example, SMPK Semiconductors, which have actually worked extensively in telecom, right? I mean, in the past. And the fact that partnerships like this can also make the infra a lot more affordable for people in general. I think the opportunities are galore when you start looking at sovereignty as meaningful participation.
Right. Okay, that's well said. Before I let you all go, I'm going to ask you, if there is one strategic decision that leaders must take today to ensure that their respective AI investments really deliver long-term sustainable value, then what should that be? Arvind, do you want to start?
Well, let me go for something which is not very glamorous, but I think very essential, which is building a good data foundation, whether it is in terms of data integrity, data governance, and having a unified data platform. Because if you don't have that, then everything else which is getting inferred on it will possibly not get the best results. So there are many things to do, no silver bullet, but that for me would be a very important one.
Strong data foundation. Rajat, what would you add?
Moving from use cases to reinventing full functions, let's say a order to cash function, for example, or a recruitment the way recruitment happens in an organization. So take a full function and reinvent that, and enabling the organization to be able to invest in the necessary change management and capabilities. I think that combination is what's needed.
All right, Ganesh.
Provenance. So if you look at databases, which prior to AI being so successful, databases were successful because there was provenance. You have a SQL query, you get the output, and you know the exact execution trace. Obviously, you can do that at the level of data, as was alluded to, right? Bringing provenance in terms of attributing the source data to the models you've built. But observability stack, entire attribution, which is very key today, all of that is only possible by bringing in a mindset of provenance through and through.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here today. That was very, very insightful and very informative.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, with that, we come to the end of this insightful discussion on the big AI bet. What clearly stands out is that AI is no longer just about experimentation. It's about execution, scale, and measurable business impact. On that note, it's time for a short break right now. Stay with us because we'll be heading straight for the fairways of Delhi and Bengaluru to witness how strategy and long-term vision plays out on the course, revealing just how the game mirrors business.
V Business presents VT Walk Executive Turf. Media partner CNBC TV 18.
Welcome back to an exciting new chapter of VT Walk. This year marks the 15th edition of a journey where leadership steps out of business settings and onto the course. Building on the unstoppable momentum of the previous edition, this year marks a significant milestone in VT Walk's journey of enabling leadership, dialogue, and collaboration.
Across Bangalore and Delhi, the momentum of the 15th edition has been building in full force, from tee-offs to conversations that carry well beyond the fairways. In both cities, leaders have come together not just to play, but to exchange ideas, challenge perspectives, and strengthen partnerships.
Who do you trust more, AI caddy or human caddy?
I think I'll go with the human caddy so far.
And why is that?
I think they read the greens better. Without them, putting would be impossible for me.
Once you play this game, you have to trust yourself more than relying on somebody. Caddy helps you to carry your bag, but I think the decision is yours. You can't kind of blame the caddy.
If AI could predict one thing for you between your next business decision or your next golf shot, which one would you pick?
I would go for the business decision. I think because the amount of data that AI can actually look at and actually help me with my business decision would be helpful. On the golf course, that's me and the golf, and I don't want any AI to come in between that.
Lovely.
I think definitely business decision. They ain't guessing my shots right now.
Lovely. What needs more protection, your personal data or your golf scorecard?
Personal data, absolutely right. And I think personal data, whether it is yours, whether it's our employees within the organization, to make sure that the data is protected. And I think there are a lot of regulations that are coming in, and I think that's very good.
My personal data, definitely. I mean, golf card is visible at large to my friends and the people I play with. So definitely my personal data.
What do you value more, experience or fresh perspective?
I would say both. I would say certainly experience is required, but you got to get new. Given the changing world that we live in, you need to have new perspectives. You need to allow those new thoughts to come in and flourish, and that's probably what makes a successful business.
VT Walk is completing 15 years. What do you think? How are platforms like these useful for leaders like you?
VT has come a long way. I think when I look at the T-Walk from 2010 or 2012 versus now, I think it's fantastic. And it's great for corporates like us to participate in these tournaments as well, so that we can represent our company, but also be part of the VT.
Now, in the game of golf and in business, what matters more to you? Consistency or peak performance?
Consistency, any day and twice on a Sunday. So it's all about consistency in this game. You play 18 holes. It's not peak performance in a few holes. It's about being consistent through the 18 holes and the 4.5 hours of play. And it's pretty much like life. You have to stay consistent.
As the final putts are made and the scores are tallied, the Delhi and Bangalore chapters of VT Walk draw to a close on a note of achievement and shared experience. The day wrapped with an awards ceremony acknowledging the players for their performances on the course.
And that brings us to the final round of this chapter. Across Bangalore and Delhi, we've seen leadership in action. Competition met, collaboration and strategy played out shot by shot. But the journey isn't over yet. Join us next time as the 15th edition of VT Walk heads to Mumbai for the final leg of its journey. One last tee off awaits. We'll see you in Mumbai.
V Business presents VT Walk Executive Turf. Media partner CNBC TV 18.